Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome to this week's Padilla in the Know. We are coming to you from Studio City today at Aroma Cafe, which is lovely if you're ever in Southern California. It's a great little place to stop. Oh, look at, yes, branding. So I am here with Olivia Kuan today. She is an amazing DP, and she has done so many things. We worked together at Pop Sugar, but I mean, I feel like
that was ages ago.
That was ages ago, but I feel like, I stalk you and follow you on social, so I feel like I'm not that far behind, but maybe a little bit. So for everyone at home, can you tell us about what you're up to and what you've been working on, and maybe give us a little bit of your background too, just so we can kind of get the full picture?
Yeah, for sure. So I got interested in doing film when I was a kid, and my dad had like a little mini DV camcorder, and me and my sister would like take it and go and make stupid little movies around the neighborhood with all the other kids on the block, and it just sort of took off from there. So my dad like fully supported us, and my mom too, and they like bought us like more equipment, more editing software so that we could practice,
awesome.
And then eventually we both went to film school. Surprise, surprise. And so I went to NYU and I graduated in 2007. And while I was there, I realized what I really wanted to do, as opposed to direct, was DP. Which, when you're young and you live in a place that has no film industry like Houston, you just don't know the difference.
But I mean, I also think that's a really important point, is that you have to be afraid to not, try it out. You never know, because you think that going in, I totally want to do this one thing, and then you wind up changing gears and you find the thing that you actually wind up loving.
Yeah, and I realized something about myself later on, that I'm better at building on ideas rather than just starting from complete scratch and formulating something from nothing. So I thought that DPing was a much better fit for me, and I love it. I love it a lot. So I've been working professionally as a DP since I graduated in 2007.
Oh, and real quick, for anyone who is listening and doesn't know what a DP is, it is a director of photography. So that is the main camera person. So the lead camera person, I guess is kind of the best way to put it in layman's terms. But that's what DP is.
Also known as cinematographer.
Yes, that's it. That's the Oscars name for it.
Yes.
But the layman name, the name that you use on set, it's a DP. So that's what that means.
It has other innuendos, but let's ignore those for now.
We'll go down the clean path for today.
I at this point I've been mostly shooting independent feature films, and I'm up to over 25 at this point.
That's so amazing.
Which is a lot, if anyone doesn't know. And I am also currently working on my first major project as a director. Not that I want to become a director, but my mom played professional football in the 1970s, and so I'm making a documentary about her experience, and we've tracked down all of her teammates, not all, but a lot of her teammates, and we're planning on shooting interviews with them this summer and recreating their experience, which was just a spectacular story.
It's so amazing. It's such a unique story, and I remember when I first saw you start talking about it on social, and I was like, this is crazy. I didn't realize it was your mom at first. It took me a minute to make that connection, and what a unique experience, and what an interesting story. I'm so excited for this to come together. I can't wait. It's going to be really cool. So, that's enough to keep you busy for the moment.
Yes.
That will do it. So, I know that a lot of our viewers are creating a lot more video content themselves for their businesses or their brands, and they're really doing that on a budget. Video can get really expensive really quickly. It's not $10,000 seems like a lot of money until you put it in a shoot and you're like, oh, cool. So we shot like 5 minutes of footage. That's great. So when you are shooting for yourself and you are shooting on a budget, what are 3 critical elements that you recommend people consider when developing the visual branding elements that you want to include in that video?
I mean, if you are really working on like zero budget, focus on the content, really. It's just what you are seeing on the screen. So I don't know what kind of business you're running, but anything that shows the personality of your business is important. So whether it's the area that you're shooting in, or it's something that you're talking about, and try to be as human as possible because people like people.
Yeah.
And find whatever brings that out in you, whether it's having somebody else in the room or having nobody in the room or having your cat in the room. I don't know. just do your best to try and make it feel like you are interacting with people as opposed to presenting them something, because people don't like to be sold. They like to feel like they're a part of it.
Yeah, and I think that's I know engagement is such a buzzword at the moment, but I think being engaging with your content in one way or another, either it's visually very striking and it makes you want to look at it, or it's very heartfelt and the story that you're telling really connects to your audience and to your viewers. Like, finding a way to be engaging is what's going to set you apart when you don't have the budget for the bells and whistles.
Yeah, and I think content just for the sake of content can almost backfire on you. And if you're just putting stuff out there just to fill the blanks in the social media feed, then it's not really going to be very productive.
Yeah, there's no point.
Yeah. If you're passionate about it, other people will be passionate about it.
Exactly.
It's contagious.
Exactly. And just in case anyone's curious, we're sitting under this huge oak tree, and it's really windy today, and the tree's blowing around, and that's what that crazy noise is. It's not like a cat being tortured. It's just like crazy tree noise. So I feel like every one of these episodes there's something like wild going on in the background somewhere. It's like a car horn, or today it's a tree. Whatever. It's LA. There's always something.
Yeah.
Okay, so I hear all the time, and I get DMs all the time about people feeling like they can't have polished content because they don't have a budget, and so they can't achieve that like super high production value, the super glossy things, without a big team and a super expensive shoot. So they're just like, well, if I can't afford to do it right, then I'm just gonna turn on my camera and shoot any old thing and like put that up there. And so if someone is like trying to figure out a way to enhance their own production quality, working within the confines of the resources that they do have available to them, what are some of the things that you like to do to try to like up the production value without having to pour a huge amount of money into that?
Right. Well, there are some really cheap options as far as lighting goes, and lighting will really boost up your look. If you have no money, then go and shoot it in an area like where we're shooting it right now, where it's nice and shady, but still sunny at the same time, so it's bright and also soft.
Yeah.
But diffused,
yes. Mother Nature's diffuser.
Yeah, but
this big tree.
Yes, the noisy tree.
The noisy tree.
On Amazon, for instance, there are these cheap like ring lights you can just put around the lens of your camera that'll really like make you look pretty. But it will help with the production value for sure.
Yeah.
If you could just not use the overhead fluorescent lighting that exists in most offices.
Yeah. Fluorescent is like it's not your friend. Like, it makes you look terrible. It makes you look so washed out and shadowy and tired, and like it's
generally a nice morgue look.
Yeah.
But if you're not trying to promote your morgue, then try for a different look.
Yeah. And I also think like another, like on that same note, direct overhead lighting is really tough. It kind of brings out the tired in your face. Right. It highlights those like circles under your eyes and all that stuff because the light is just crashing on your head. So you want the light to kind of fill the space around you. Yeah. And so if you're standing near a window, that light's kind of filling the space around you. Or if you can put even like a piece of white poster board underneath and like bounce some of that light up into you. It's also why you look so great in a car. The windshield is sort of acting as this big light box, like, and helping diffuse some of that light across your skin. So yeah, I think like light is everyone's best friend. Yeah. And if you have no money, invest in light.
Yeah, the sun is free, so just figure out where to sit so that the sun looks good on you, and that's.
Yeah, and I think don't be afraid to try it out. Like have your phone on and like take some pictures, take some video, whatever, and watch it back and see what you like the look of.
And phone quality video really isn't that bad these days.
Yeah,
like the resolution is pretty high on most smartphones.
Yeah.
So you run into problems when there's not enough light, and then it starts to look really terrible.
Yeah.
But as long as you're in like a nice lighting situation, your phone might be enough. Yeah. If you want to up that level a little bit, my next best suggestion would be to get a DSLR with a lens that has an optical zoom as opposed to a digital zoom.
Yeah.
Because that will create less depth of field, so that when you see a movie, oftentimes the background is out of focus behind the characters, and that looks more expensive. So that would be the way to do that, is to get a nice lens.
Yeah, that same effect is like portrait mode on your iPhone if you're taking a picture and the background kind of goes fuzzy.
Yeah.
Can you tell everyone like what an optical zoom is versus a digital zoom?
Yeah. So on your phone, your native camera phone, there's a digital zoom option where you can sort of slide the little bar that says 1x, 2x, 3x, or something. So that's basically, it's just as though you're on a computer looking at your picture and then zooming in like this. That's all it's doing. An optical zoom actually changes the glass layout within the lens, so it's like a telescope. So it maintains the quality of the image without, you're not changing the resolution of the image.
Right. Yeah, exactly. We do have a question. Is there a good millimeter for lens that you think is just kind of like a great like workhorse lens? Like it's not super specific, but it's kind of a good like all-encompassing starter.
Yeah.
Base.
The favorite lens is 50 millimeters. Everyone loves a 50 millimeter lens. It's a medium spread lens. It's not too tight, so you would be able to still shoot yourself. And it's also not so wide that it makes you look like a fish.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Perfect. Yeah. So love that. 50 millimeter for the win. So as we've talked about a little bit, light and environment are super critical to helping the video feel more high production and helping you better align your visuals with how you want your brand to be presented. But often if you're shooting for yourself and you don't have a huge budget, you can't afford a delightful location, like a beautiful house up on the hills overlooking the ocean. So when you're in maybe not the most ideal situation, what are some things that you like to do to kind of cheat the camera to make it look better than it maybe really is?
Well, distance is your friend. So if you have like a pretty deep space, then try to get to one end of it and just sort of squeeze yourself in the camera in a corner so that you have lots of depth behind you.
Yeah.
And that will just make your space look bigger. It'll make it look more dynamic and more intricate. That's the easiest thing to do, and you might get a little uncomfortable in the corner of the room, but no one's ever going to know.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, I know, together we've shot a lot of lifestyle content, and so obviously a lot of that is beauty and fashion, and a lot of times we were shooting in a really random store or a random house or something, and we never really knew what we were walking into before we got there. So a lot of times we would go outside and find an ivy covered wall, or even a really cool fence, or just a cool wall, and put the camera person at the end of that wall and the model walking forwards and backwards and just shooting way down that space. And it gave the impression that the vibe was a lot cooler than had you actually been there across the street looking at us. You would have been like, what are these fools doing?
You see it all the time.
I know, what's happening with these crazy kids? But yeah, I mean, I think that's such a great trick, and it's free. It doesn't cost anything. It's just kind of thinking about your space in a different way.
Yeah. And there are some tricks that you learn in photography school early on where you do a frame within a frame. That always looks nice.
Yeah.
Or leading lines is another one. So if you have a line of books or something, then stand at the end of it and it naturally draws the eye to the subject matter.
Yeah.
The rule of thirds is another big one. So, dividing your frame up into thirds and then placing important things on the lines of the thirds.
That's a great one, actually.
Yeah.
And I think rule of thirds is also a good one to keep in mind if you're trying to figure out how to light your own space, because you kind of want to think about the background, the middle part, and the foreground. And so as long as there's light sort of touching those spots, it gives the model or the subject somewhere to kind of be able to breathe and live and move, and you're not, it doesn't become Land of the Shadow people. Right, yeah. Yeah.
Well, naturally our eyes are drawn to the brightest thing in the frame. When I was in school, we had a professor who pulled out a lighter and started waving it around in front of him, and he started talking, and every single person in the room was just following his hand in the lighter. So It's a simple trick, but it works.
Yeah. At the end of the day, we're all toddlers.
Right.
We're just much taller toddlers.
Yeah.
So those are such great tips, and I think that's really like great information to share with everybody. But I want to change gears a little bit, and I want to touch on you being a female DP, because it is still such a rare breed, even this day and age. I think being a female in this space at large is still not as common as we'd like it to see that be.
Yeah.
So in this traditionally male space, how do you assert yourself to get people to look past your gender and really focus on your work?
Yeah, I mean, all that I can really do is be good at my job and be confident about it. And that, you know, I can't change what people are thinking.
True.
And the only way to change it is going to be slow and through people constantly building up the reputations of our gender, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's tough. I mean, I was in denial for a while that, you know, whatever, as long as I do a good job, everything will be fine. But then, like, men who were at my level and, like, we were, like, colleagues have, like, long surpassed me. And it could be discouraging at times. But yeah, I mean, I still love it. I really enjoy doing this job, and you know, you get to choose your own crew, which is good.
Yeah.
Because you could bring people who aren't going to be rude about it.
Right.
And I honestly do think that each individual is different.
Yeah.
And, you know, you just have to do what works for you. Whatever makes you feel confident is what's going to make other people feel confident about you.
Yeah.
And again, it's contagious. So, but I don't know. I don't know the answer.
I mean, I don't think there's like a clear, hard and fast answer. I'm just interested in like your experience and your opinion of it.
Yeah.
I mean, do you feel like more doors are starting to open for female creatives here in Hollywood and here, like, you know, in the culture at large?
Right.
Or does it feel a little bit more like lip service?
To me, it feels a little more like lip service. And I have been hearing more about people wanting to work with women, and I have heard that. But generally, it comes with a discount.
Yeah.
And I'm in a group called the International Collective of Female Cinematographers, and we were having a meetup one day, and one of our members coined, or I don't know if she coined it, but she mentioned the phrase, the feminist discount.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point, because that's something that I experienced too, that if there's a different rate if you're a woman than if you're a man, and if you ask for a fair shoot rate, they automatically question it. Like, you get a lot of pushback. Mm-hmm. And I know that men who do the same job and are working on a comparable shoot with a comparable team are able to charge a lot more than I've been able to successfully charge, because they're men.
Right.
And it is a frustrating space. It is a frustrating thing. But I think you're right that it's like, I get to pick my crew, and I pick people who are supportive. I try to support other female creatives as much as I possibly can.
Yeah.
That's something that I do at Padilla. Like, we highlight other female entrepreneurs and female creatives. We interview other females in this space. Like, I really am trying to put my money where my mouth is, so to speak, and do what I am able to do with the time and the resources that I do have available to me. And hopefully, as I get older and my company grows, I'll have more of a footprint and be able to do more. But I think there's a lot more awareness around it than there has been in the past.
Yes.
But I do think it's a process, and it's like a slow change, and probably slower than we want it to be. And there are days where I feel like, oh my God, are we still living in Mad Men? Like, what is happening? This is crazy.
Yeah. Well, not to bring it back to my documentary, but like, that's part of the point that I want to look into, is that my mom and her team, they played women's football 40 years ago. Nobody knows about it. There are women playing women's football today, and still nobody knows about it. So, like, where's the change? It's been 40 years, and why hasn't the money turned up? You know?
Right.
Like, it's. I feel like every time we make 2 steps up, it comes 1 step down, and it sort of goes like this.
Yeah.
Just for, you know, women in general.
I mean, I feel like politically we're having that moment as a nation right now.
Right.
And I think change is uncomfortable, and I think change forces you to challenge your beliefs. It forces you to look at your reality. It forces you to look at your childhood and how you're trying to replicate those feelings and emotions in your adulthood, which is a lot of what being in the world is about.
Yeah.
And, because it brings back a sense of security, and it brings back a sense of belonging and knowing what you're about, who you are, and what your life is. And, it's challenging. That is scary. But I'm hoping that because we're able to have these conversations more and more and out in the open, and that there is a dialogue about it, and there is passion on both sides, that hopefully that will be the catalyst that ultimately brings about real, authentic change, and not just like, oh, we put this woman on the board, we're pro-feminist. Like, no, you put one woman on the board of 15 people, and
nobody listens to her,
and no one
because
listens
the
to
14
her.
men don't care about her.
Right, and she gets infinitely less money or benefits than anyone else on the board. Like, hopefully there will be a point in time where we are truly equal, because I think that your work as a creative should be around your work as a creative, and your ability to see this project in a unique way that elevates that project. And it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, or what your race is, or gender, or background, or any of it. You're being hired because of your unique lens and your ability to execute that project, and not because of some other arbitrary reason that probably shouldn't matter at all.
Yeah, or something that's deeply rooted in our society.
That's
what it tends to be. Just something that was started thousands of years ago, and it just has not gone away.
Yeah. So. But, I guess to be fair, something that took thousands of years to come about and is so strongly rooted in the subconscious is going to take a minute to be dissolved.
Yeah, no, I think it's foolhardy to think that anything's going to change overnight. And, I'm all for the effort.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't expect in my career to ever be seen as an equal.
I want to be optimistic and hope that we're able to, but I also know that it's a lot of fingers crossed in that front. But I do honestly feel that the generation coming up behind us hopefully won't have to have these same conversations and struggles that we're having, because I think there's enough frustration and open dialogue about it that we're at a tipping point. It feels like we're at a tipping point. So my hope is that we are truly able to take more than 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Yeah.
That we are actually able to make some real, authentic change that takes hold.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. In a dream world, what change would you like to see in the industry that helps you feel like you are being taken and seen as an equal?
Again, I think it's an individual thing. Like, I know plenty of people who are very welcoming to people of all genders and backgrounds and sexualities and races, and it's not a problem. But there are individuals out there that as soon as you walk into the room wearing a dress, they're just like, And, I can't change all of their minds. I don't know what